An accident nearly cost me Yi Guqing's one true love. Ignoring my explanations, he angrily abandoned me at the frontier. His expression was cold. "I'll return for you in 3 years. I hope you've reformed yourself and learned Lu Yu's gentleness." When the 3-year punishment ended, he arrived with Lu Yu as promised. Everyone expected me to throw a tantrum like before, yet I merely met his gaze with calm eyes. Let's divorce. If he despised me so much, I would vanish from his world. I expected Yi Guqing to agree. Instead, his eyes turned crimson. Dark clouds gathering within. "I refuse. You're not leaving." When word came that I could leave the frontier, I was hauling stones. The frontier fortress was perpetually battered by gales, its inhabitants never seeing daylight. People here were little more than convicts, forced to labor daily. Going hungry and cold was the norm. Most were criminals or those whose families had committed heinous crimes, suffering the consequences by being banished to the frontier. The overseer showed me no leniency simply because I was a woman. Year after year passed. Today, at last, this bitter existence came to an end, without even changing into clean clothes, shackles still on my feet. I was herded to a mansion. A luxurious carriage stood at the gate, bearing a large engraved character, Yi. I recognized it instantly. It was Yi Guqing's carriage, a symbol of status and power. The moment I stepped inside, a cacophony of voices greeted me. I slowed my pace, straining to listen. 3 years have passed. I wonder how our pampered lady is faring, the one who never lifted a finger for a moment. If it weren't for the master back then, she'd have frozen to death in the bitter winter. She wouldn't have this status now. You know, without her constant chatter, the mansion is much quieter now. She had it coming for offending the second madam. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been punished by the master to suffer here. Then, a familiar female voice reached my ears. It was Lu Yu speaking. Enough of that. Yenner didn't mean any harm. I forgave her long ago, but she has such an impatient temper, a true young miss temperament. A little hardship might actually do her some good. She was Yi Guqing's long-lost white moonlight. The chaos of war. He had brought back a woman clad in rags. At first, I paid it little mind, assuming it was merely Yi Guqing's act of kindness to save her life. I figured she'd stay in the mansion for a while before leaving on her own. Yet, the truth surprised me. Yi Guqing told me she was his long-lost white moonlight. Now that her family was destroyed and she had nowhere to go, he had no choice but to let her stay temporarily. I instinctively wanted to refuse, for the title of White Moonlight displeased me deeply. Yet Yi Guqing's tone was firm. It's settled. Lu Yu has a gentle nature. She cooks. She washes clothes. You should learn from her. Never mistreat her. With that, he turned away from me, supporting Lu Yu as they left. Watching their retreating figures, an inexplicable ache welled up inside me, as if something were being torn from my very being. In the days that followed, Yi Guqing's concern for Lu Yu surpassed even his care for me. Remember, I was his legally wedded wife, carried in a palanquin with 8 bearers. What was this now? The mistress taking the throne, the wife demoted. I refused to accept it, so I began to make a scene. I caused chaos, turned everything upside down. I tried to grab Yi Guqing's attention this way. I smashed his most cherished blue and white porcelain, terrifying the servants into silence, trembling in fear. But it still didn't work. Yi Guqing merely glanced indifferently at the shards on the floor, muttering, "What a pity, such fine material and craftsmanship." Then he turned and walked away. If force didn't work, I'd try kindness. I learned to cook, to wash clothes, to become a virtuous wife. Whatever Lu Yu could do, I could do too. I wouldn't be outdone by anyone. Until 3 years ago, when I interacted with the newly acquired white horse within the estate. The horse unexpectedly bolted. I nearly killed Lu Yu. Everyone called me malicious, but only Lu Yu's lips curled into a mocking smile. She orchestrated my downfall. Yet Yi Guqing refused to believe my innocence. His gaze held not just disappointment, but disgust. In a fit of rage, he banished me to the frontier. My cries and pleas fell on deaf ears. As the city gates closed, I begged him not to leave me alone. I was terrified. His expression was cold. "They'll return for you in 3 years. I hope you'll reform yourself and learn more of Lu Yu's gentleness. By then, I want to see a considerate, obedient, and sensible you." 3 years at the frontier were no easy feat. The climate here was arid, especially in autumn and winter when the dry, cold winds blew fiercely. My once delicate, smooth skin became coarse and rough. My once slender, pale fingers turned sallow and dark, their nail crevices perpetually filled with grime, blackened and filthy. When I first arrived, I scrubbed my face clean and painstakingly clear the mud from my nails each night. But later, amid deliberate harassment, targeting, and abuse, sheer physical exhaustion made mere survival a struggle, let alone caring about beauty. So the dewy, youthful complexion I once took pride in is long gone. Yet I still occasionally remember how much I used to love taking care of myself. Looking at my face in the mirror often makes me break down and cry. At 26, I should be in the prime of my life, but my eyes no longer hold that clear, innocent spark. They're filled with nothing but exhaustion. Just looking at my appearance, the person I am now is a complete stranger to my former self. Not to mention, in these past 3 years, Yi Guqing hasn't once come to see me. My heart has grown cold through repeated disappointments. Just then, Yi Guqing's voice sounded ahead. You've been through so much on this journey. You've only recently given birth. You should be resting more." Those words struck me like a bolt of lightning. My breath caught, my eyes wide with disbelief. You see, Yi Guqing and I married at 18. For 5 whole years, we bore no fruit of our love. I asked him, "When will we have a child?" He made it clear he didn't like children. Then, seeing my face darken, he softened his tone and offered excuses. "Court affairs are overwhelming lately. Let's discuss it later." Never did I imagine that during my 3-year absence, he had married Lu Yu and started a family. It turned out he wasn't averse to children, simply didn't want to have children with me. At that moment, a bitter smile touched my lips. Ah, Yenner is my sister after all. Family, as her elder sister. It's only right and proper for me to come and fetch her personally. My suffering pales in comparison to what Yenner endured at the frontier. Lu Yu's eyes sparkled with affection as she slipped her arm through Yi Guqing's, her voice soft and gentle. Yi Guqing snorted coldly. "Having tasted such bitterness, she surely won't compete with you anymore." Lu Yu's lips curved upward as she countered. "What if she remains unrepentant?" Yi Guqing's tone was icy. "Unrepentant. Everything she possesses, I gave her. What I gave, I can take back. I trust she knows what she must do." No sooner had the words left his mouth than the clanking of chains preceded her arrival. A servant spotted me and cried out in alarm. "The mistress. She's here. It really is the mistress." Conversations abruptly ceased as all eyes turned toward me. Perhaps it had been too long since they last saw me, or perhaps my appearance had changed drastically, were it not for the jade hairpin adorning my hair. Even the servants might not have recognized me. Its origin was undeniably a token of the Yi family matriarch's favor. Passed down to me personally, Lu Yu was the first to break the silence. Taking my hand in a feigned gesture of intimacy, she spoke. "My dear sister, you've suffered so much. From now on, we're sisters. We'll share both hardship and joy." I took a step back, bowing slightly, my voice hoarse. "Madam Lu, you flatter me. Who am I to call you sister?" Lu Yu's expression faltered, and she looked helplessly at Yi Guqing. "Yenner." Yi Guqing finally fixed his gaze on my face. 3 years later, and you're still causing trouble. Your business with Lu Yu is completely over. She forgave you. Stop being so stubborn. Go back and get along properly. Can't you do that? By the end, He seemed impatient, his brow furrowing. Forgive me. It wasn't my fault to begin with. Why should I need her forgiveness? In the past, I would have argued fiercely, insisting it wasn't my fault. But now I merely lifted my eyes and met his gaze calmly. I'll agree to whatever you say. I only ask for a divorce decree. The atmosphere froze into dead silence. If he disliked me so much, I would simply vanish from his world. ID assumed head nod indifferently and agree. Instead, dark clouds flashed in Yi Guqing's eyes, and a thin layer of anger spread across his face. He instantly concluded I was unrepentant, even playing hard to get. Divorce. I refuse. You're not leaving. He stepped closer, his gaze slightly crimson as he studied me. Perhaps seeing my pitiful state softened his tone. I know you harbor resentment, but it was merely 3 years at the frontier. We shared so many years of affection. I won't hold these angry words against you. I kept my head bowed, listening silently. Yi Guqing's refusal to grant the divorce caught me off guard. Hearing him still speak of our years of affection only made it seem more laughable. Yener. When Yi Guqing received no response after waiting a long while, he reached out to touch my head. I instinctively took a step back, creating distance between us. I replied softly, Yi Guqing, those 3 years at the frontier made me realize one thing. Someone who doesn't love you will never love you. When I was alone here, vulnerable to abuse, starving without food, when I longed for you to visit Medhats when I knew I should have known my place. I was foolish and selfish back then. Each word I spoke struck deep into Yi Guqing's heart. He froze, suddenly feeling a flicker of panic. Oh dear, little Yener. Don't be upset. I apologize on Yi Guqing's behalf. He's a man. It's only natural he has his flaws in handling emotions. Today is the day you return. You should be happy. Lu Yu stepped in as peacemaker, speaking on Yi Guqing's behalf. Yi Guqing took a deep breath and replied, I know you've always resented me for sending you here these past 3 years, still blaming me, but it was your own headstrong nature that led you astray. Your mistake nearly cost you her life. I fought back the surging emotions, clenching my palms so tightly my nails dug deep into my flesh, almost piercing through my palms. Yet I offered no explanation, instead bowing my head low before Lu Yu once more. Words of apology flowed from my lips. Madam Lu, what happened back then it was my fault. I'm truly sorry. Perhaps moved by the sincerity of my apology, Yi Guqing suppressed his unease and steadied his composure. He stepped forward, gently taking my hand. Yener, let bygones be bygones. As long as you never harm her or their child again, I'll forgive the past. We can still live happily together as before, won't we? I slipped my hand away without a trace of hesitation, offering a self-mocking smile. I'm no longer worthy of you now. Let's just forget it. Sister Luyue is the one truly suited for you. I am not. Yi Guqing's face twitched. He believed he had made countless concessions for me. Yet I remained stubbornly unyielding. His patience had finally snapped. Ignoring my resistance, he forcibly grabbed my hand, attempting to shove me into the carriage. However, I stumbled and fell to the ground. Then he saw the countless scars covering my arms and legs, his expression freezing in shock. These wounds were inflicted by the overseer's whip, lashed upon me time and again to drive me to work. He hastily tore a corner from his robe to bandage me, but my injuries were too numerous, didn't know where to begin. He demanded loudly, why didn't you seek treatment for these injuries? How old are you? Don't you know how to take care of yourself? His angry tone carried a hint of pity for me. I pushed him away, forcing myself to endure the searing pain radiating through my body. It's fine, I said. I'm used to this pain. Truthfully, I never intended to refuse his carriage from the start. After all, I still needed his carriage to leave this nightmarish place. I stumbled and swayed as I climbed aboard. Once I was a delicate flower, but now I am a thorny rose, independent and self-reliant. Finally, I paused, turned to face him, and said lightly, "Your belated concern is unnecessary." Yi Guqing pressed his lips tightly together, silent. By the time we reached the capital, it was already midnight. Gazing at the magnificent mansion before me, it felt like another world. The stark contrast between the poverty of the frontier and the splendor of the capital was striking. Pushing open the bedroom door, a musty odor hit me. Dried spider webs hung from the rafters. A thick layer of dust covered the furniture and belongings. Sure enough, Yi Guqing hadn't given me a second thought. He knew I was returning to live here, yet didn't even send servants to clean beforehand. I sighed, dragging my weary body to tidy up myself. It didn't matter anyway. I was about to divorce Yi Guqing. Suddenly, a servant rushed before me, without a word. She knelt on the floor, her face tear-streaked. "Mistress, I know I've erred. Please forgive me." I was utterly confused, not understanding what she was talking about. Lu Yu arrived. First, she slapped the servant across the face right in front of me. Then, she tugged at my sleeve, her face full of apology. "Yenner, the servant was incompetent. Please don't be angry. I'll arrange a clean room for you right away." I waved my hand dismissively, unconcerned. "It's fine. I'll stay in the guest room." But Lu Yu looked hurt again. "Yenner, are you still angry with me? If Guqing finds out I made you stay in the guest room, he'll say I'm bullying you." In the middle of the night, I really didn't have the energy to argue with her. I declined her offer, picked up my tattered bundle, and headed toward the guest room. Coincidentally, Yi Guqing was just walking in from outside, his clear gaze fixed on me. "So late at night. Where are you going?" Before I could answer, Lu Yu pouted and spoke up first. "Sister Yenner's room isn't cleaned, yet she insists on staying in the guest room. How can the hostess sleep in the guest room?" I kindly tried to persuade her, but she wouldn't listen. Perhaps Sister Yen still harbors resentment toward me over what happened back then. As she spoke, her eyes welled up with tears, as if she were the victim. Hearing this, Yi Guqing turned his gaze to the kneeling servant, pointing to the slap mark on her cheek. He asked softly, "Who did this? Tell me, and I'll see justice is done." The next moment, the servant's eyes darted toward me before cautiously replying, "Your Excellency." It was the mistress who struck me. I hadn't tidied the room, and in her anger, the mistress slapped me. As soon as she finished, I fixed her with a piercing stare. Her eyes darted away, unable to meet mine. I turned to Lu Yu. She sniffled a few times, a cold smile flickering at the corner of her mouth. In that instant, I knew they were in cahoots. They'd conspired to stage this ploy, all to frame me. What elaborate scheming! Finally, I turned my gaze to Yi Guqing. As always, his expression bore a look of I knew it. Then, with a tone laced with impatience, he addressed me. "Yenner, when will you ever grow up? You've barely been home, and already you've caused trouble. The servant may have been at fault, but that doesn't justify striking someone. And Lu Yu treats you like a sister, showing you such kindness. Who would have thought you'd be so ungrateful?" Lu Yu lowered her head, tears streaming down her delicate, pitifully fragile frame. "Guqing, don't speak to Yenner like that. She didn't mean it. It's getting late. I'll arrange a room for her." Yi Guqing's face darkened with displeasure. "No need for trouble. If she wants to sleep in the guest room, let her sleep there. To be the master yet not act like one, how laughable." He looked at me mockingly, as if I were a clown. Yet my heart remained calm. Not a ripple stirred. I even shook my head helplessly. I had never truly been the master of this household. Soon, this home would no longer belong to me either. The next morning, I awoke to the sound of an infant's cry echoing through the courtyard. After a quick wash, I opened my room door. Bright sunlight streamed in as Yi Guqing played with the little one in Lu Yu's arms. They stood beneath the shade of a tree, chatting and laughing. What a lovely family of 3. So full of joy. Yet this beautiful scene stirred a wave of loss within me. After all, the child wasn't mine. I had no children of my own. Lu Yu nestled against Yi Guqing's chest, her face radiant with happiness. Guqing, marrying you in this lifetime and bearing you a son. He asked for nothing more. Yi Guqing gazed at her with doting eyes, gently scraping her pert nose. Silly girl. This is only our first child. There will be a second. We'll always be together. Hearing this, Lu Yu's cheeks flushed slightly as she shot me a slightly provocative glance. She leaned back slightly, pressing closer to Yi Guqing. Guqing. I love you. Me too. I kept my eyes straight ahead and walked toward the exit. As we passed each other, Lu Yu called out to me, Yener. Come see Yener. She wore a smug expression, clearly trying to flaunt him in front of me, before I could even protest. She placed the child directly into my arms, resigned. I gently took the baby from her and studied him closely. The boy's cheeks were chubby, with thick eyebrows framing large, jet black eyes bearing a striking 7th resemblance to Yi Guqing as a child. Head occasionally break into a silly grin, then suck on his little finger. Lin Yanxin ambition like wind and clouds. Blessings complete and full. A name personally chosen for the child by Yi Guqing. Looking at the child's innocent, adorable face, I couldn't help but wonder, if I had a child of my own, would he be this endearing too? Before long, the baby began to cry, likely hungry. Lu Yu immediately soothed him and carried him back inside. Yi Guqing exhaled softly, his gaze complex as he looked at me. Grandma heard you'd returned. She's called us all for dinner. I have something to discuss with you then. I nodded in response. All right. Ever since I entered the Yi household, old Madame Yi had taken a great liking to me, showering me with care. She was arguably the closest person to me in the Yi household, aside from Yi Guqing. After that incident, she was the only one who believed me, convinced I wouldn't harm anyone. Yet, advanced in years and lacking influence, she couldn't protect me. Because of this, the entire household knew Madame Yi disapproved of Lu Yu. Thus, only Yi Guqing and I attended this family banquet. Night fell as the carriage stopped at a secluded mountain villa outside the capital. The elderly preferred tranquility, hence choosing this place to enjoy their twilight years. Exquisite dishes graced the table. Dongan chicken, Chinese eel, Dompa pork, all my favorites. My gaze softened. Grandma had been thoughtful. Afterwards, everyone chatted while eating. Naturally, the conversation inevitably turned to Yi Guqing and me. You two have been married so long, when do you plan to have children? I'm getting old. I'm afraid I don't have much time left. My chopsticks paused midair as I glanced sideways at Yi Guqing. He set down his bowl and chopsticks, replying earnestly, Grandma, we plan to have a child next year. He turned to me. This is what I wanted to tell you, the wish you've longed for. I've made my decision. His answer delighted the elderly woman, who kept piling dishes onto our plates, but I had no appetite. My stomach churning violently, I pushed my bowl aside and spoke coldly. I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I intend to divorce Yi Guqing. The table fell silent. Yener. What do you mean? Is it necessary to discuss such unpleasant matters in front of Grandma? If you have grievances against me, we can resolve them privately later. Yi Guqing pulled me outside, his voice low and strained with suppressed anger. I shook off his hand and retorted. Then what did you mean by your words earlier? I admit, there was a time I wanted to have a child with you, but that was then. Now, I don't want one. Don't you understand? Ever since you abandoned me in that remote, impoverished frontier, our relationship ended. Can you even imagine how I've endured these past 3 years? You couldn't possibly know. Because you never cared about me. You never valued me. Falling for you, marrying you was the most regrettable decision of my life. I could no longer suppress the agony in my heart. I lashed out at him hysterically, venting my fury. Perhaps the scorn in my eyes was too palpable. Yi Guqing's gaze locked onto mine, as if trying to pierce through my thoughts. What exactly are you trying to do? You've been with me since childhood. How will you survive without me? His tone softened, filled with resignation. Hearing his words, I suddenly smiled. Yes, I too once believed I couldn't live without him. Yet these past 3 years without him, I survived at the frontier. I even discovered how I would live from now on. Slowly calming my turbulent heart, I said in a deep voice, "They'll say this one last time. I'm not causing trouble. Everything you ever gave me, I want none of it. I'm returning it all to you. All I ask for is a divorce decree. From now on, we walk separate paths. I'll take the sunlit road. You cross your log bridge. No more ties between us." The resolute words echoed over the mountain estate. A moment passed. Yi Guqing opened his mouth, then closed it, repeating this motion over and over. His lips trembling violently, tears welled in the corners of his eyes. He was actually crying. His voice caught in his throat, bitter and strained. You truly harbored such hatred for me over those 3 years at the frontier. You meant it. I've always meant it. Only you chose to ignore my words. I calmed myself and spoke these words with unwavering resolve. The biting cold wind cut through my body, chilling my very heart. Yi Guqing tried to defend himself. It was your mistake back then. I only wanted you to reform. I looked at him with pity, my voice cold as I cut him off. I have reformed, and I no longer love you. Returning to the mansion that evening, Lu Yu had been waiting at the gate long before. The moment Yi Guqing stepped off the carriage, she eagerly approached, fussing over him. "Guqing, it's chilly outside. Hurry inside. I'll go to the kitchen and prepare some ginger soup for you." Her eyes were fixed solely on Yi Guqing, ignoring me completely. "Make one for Yenner too. She needs it more than I do." Perhaps it was a sense of debt. Perhaps guilt. My decision to leave made his unease increasingly obvious. He tried to win me over, hoping to change my mind. Lu Yu's expression stiffened slightly. Though she couldn't fathom why Yi Guqing would suddenly show concern for me, she still answered with a smile. "Of course. Oh, right. Jinner is alone in the room, and am worried. Could you please look after her? I naturally adore children." So I nodded without hesitation. Yi Guqing went to the study to handle official business. When I pushed open Lu Yu's door, a strong smell of alcohol filled the air. Empty bottles were scattered on the table. I hadn't realized Lu Yu had a drinking habit. I silently shook my head. I lifted my gaze toward the bed. Jinner lay fast asleep, his eyes tightly shut, cheeks rosy, sleeping peacefully. I carefully cradled him in my arms, leaning close to his adorable face. Immediately, I sensed something was off. As my nose neared his little mouth, a faint, almost imperceptible whiff of alcohol wafted up. Oh no! If things went as expected, the drama was about to begin. Clang! The ginger soup spilled all over the floor. Lu Yu appeared at the doorway just then. Her expression panicked as she snatched Jinner from my arms, her voice trembling. "Jinner, you'll be fine. Mama is here with you." Her eyes blazed with fury as she glared at me, her voice sharp with anger. "Yenner, this is too much. If you have grievances against me, take it out on me. Why harm the child? Don't you fear retribution?" The commotion drew a crowd of servants. Soon, Yi Guqing arrived. Seeing her protector arrive, Lu Yu threw herself into Yi Guqing's arms, weeping bitterly. "Guqing, save Jinner. I beg you, save him." Hearing Jinner was in trouble, Yi Guqing's expression darkened. He steadied Lu Yu's shoulders, his eyes brimming with visible anxiety and worry. "What happened to Jinner? What's wrong? Calm down. Tell me slowly." "I was brewing ginger tea for you in the kitchen and asked Sister Yenner to watch Jinner for a moment. When I returned, the room reeked of alcohol. Jinner was burning hot. His little face flushed red, clearly had been given alcohol. Sister Yenner was the only one in the room. She must have fed him the drink. 3 years ago, she disliked me and deliberately staged an accident to harm me. 3 years later, she won't even spare our child. How heartless. As he finished, Yi Guqing's dark eyes became like stars sinking into a cold pool, ominously dark. The servants nearby held their breath, not daring to make a sound. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, I doubled over, clutching my stomach in laughter. As I laughed, tears streamed down my cheeks. Yes. 3 years ago I was falsely accused of malice, of deliberately making the white horse run wild, nearly killing Lu Yu, who was walking toward us. Back then, I couldn't defend myself. Everyone believed I was jealous and had intentionally harmed Lu Yu. I refused to accept it. Screaming and protesting, in a fit of rage, Yi Guqing banished me to the frontier. 3 years later, the victim changed from Lu Yu to Zhen'er. Naturally, I was still the culprit. This time, however, I offered no explanation. Accepting it calmly, Yi Guqing was enraged by my shrill laughter. What are you laughing at? Zhen'er's life hangs in the balance, and you have the nerve to laugh. The evidence is clear. What more can you say? I wiped the tears from my eyes and shook my head. I have nothing more to say. Yi Guqing's face twitched as he pressed. Zhen'er is innocent. Did you do this to get back at Lu Yu and me? I shook my head again. Seems 3 years on the frontier didn't soften your temper. You're incorrigible. I smiled indifferently. Think whatever you like. My nonchalance clearly irked Yi Guqing. Veins bulged on his forehead. If anything happens to Zhen'er, you won't get off easy either. I shot him a sarcastic glance. How exactly do you plan to make me suffer? Exile me to the frontier for another 3 years? Or kill me? You should regret it. If you'd divorced me sooner, none of this would have happened. I paused. Never mind. You never believed me. And you never listen. Yi Guqing sneered, enunciating each word. My only regret is saving your life that cold night. His words swirled in my mind, leaving me stunned for a long moment. So that's how he felt. If that's the case, in an instant, I grabbed the fruit knife from the table and pressed it against my left heart. Yenner, what are you doing? Don't do anything foolish. Yi Guqing's urgent voice rang out. I gave him one last sorrowful look. You gave me my life. So in returning it, we're even now. 5 years of living side by side, sharing the same bed. Now we've come to love and hate each other, each finding the other repulsive. The knife pierced my body, searing pain shooting through my entire being. I admit I acted impulsively. Sacrificing my life for him was never worth it. Unable to stand, my body collapsed limply to the ground. A vivid crimson blossom bloomed upon my snow-white gauze dress, dazzlingly brilliant, the scarlet glare piercing. Before consciousness faded, I heard many voices calling out. Among them, Yi Guqing sounded the most desperate, the most shattered, the most sorrowful. In a pool of blood, darkness finally swallowed me whole. I had a dream, a bitterly cold winter night, a blizzard raging, an orphan, both parents dead, drifted the streets, driven by hunger and cold. I helplessly slipped into a restaurant to steal leftovers from diners. The proprietor, annoyed I was driving away customers, ordered his men to throw me out. He beat me with fists and feet, hurling abuse. Filthy beggar, get out of here. This isn't a place for the likes of you. Do you even deserve to be here? You've ruined our customers' mood. They'll beat you to death. My cries of pain and pleas for mercy fell on deaf ears. Soon, my body was covered in wounds, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. Stop. I forced my eyelids open and looked up. There stood Yi Guqing. Just 8 years old. He wore splendid clothes, surrounded by bodyguards, clearly the child of a wealthy family. The innkeeper, seeing this, gave an awkward smile and scurried back inside. Evidently, He too knew the boy's background was deep and not to be trifled with. Yi Guqing then approached me. He crouched down and gently wiped the blood from my lips. My name is Yi Guqing. What is yours? I had no strength to answer, only gasping for breath. He didn't mind. He pursed his lips, as if making a decision. Then he reached out his hand and smiled at me. If you have nowhere to go, come with me. With me. You won't go hungry or be left without warm clothes. His appearance was like a ray of sunlight shining into my life, radiant and brilliant. Hesitating briefly, I placed my cold little hand into his warm palm. Time flew by, and 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. The once naive boy and girl had grown into young, inexperienced youths. Yi Guqing was not only outstanding himself but also came from a good family background, so he naturally had no shortage of admirers. Yet, the only one who stayed by his side until the end and married him was me. His love was passionate and direct, never disdaining me as an orphan of unknown origins. Yet it wasn't until Lu Yu appeared that I finally understood. Yi Guqing never loved me at all, loved her. The dream dissipated, and I returned to reality. I didn't know why I was still alive. But soon, someone gave me the answer. Old Madame Yi sat tearfully by my bedside, her warm hand clasping mine. When she learned I intended to divorce Yi Guqing, she grew anxious about my safety. Little did she expect I'd face such calamity upon returning to the estate. She never trusted Lu Yu. Behind the scenes, she rigorously investigated those close to Lu Yu, employing every means of coercion and bribery until someone, unable to withstand the pressure, came forward with testimony. The servants attending Lu Yu wept uncontrollably, kneeling before Yi Guqing and pointing at her, spilling out every detail. Your Honor, the mistress is innocent. The accident 3 years ago and the person who gave the young master the wine was all orchestrated by this vicious woman from the very beginning. She even targeted her own child and threatened us, saying if we exposed her, she'd make us pay dearly. Witnesses to these sordid deeds knelt in droves before the courtroom. Yi Guqing's piercing gaze suddenly fixed on Lu Yu, his body trembling slightly. It was you. You orchestrated all of this. No wonder I felt something was terribly wrong afterward. Yenner never touched a drop of alcohol herself. How could she possibly commit such an absurd act of feeding wine to a child? I sent people to investigate the origin of the wine. That very night, while we were away from the estate, you went to the winery and purchased a jar of wine. You personally fed Jenner the wine. Framing Yenner. A woman's heart is the most poisonous. If not for the doctor revealing Yenner's heart lies on the right side, unlike most, she would never have survived. What I never imagined was that the accident 3 years ago was also your doing. How many more secrets have you kept from me? The furious accusation rang deafeningly. Lu Yu trembled violently, overcome with terror. She clutched Yi Guqing desperately. It wasn't me. I didn't. No. No, I planned everything perfectly. How could this happen? The only explanation was that plans couldn't keep pace with reality. She hadn't anticipated my sudden suicide, my abandonment of life. All the evil deeds she once concealed were now laid bare. As the saying goes, good deeds beget good rewards, and evil deeds beget evil consequences. Yi Guqing's breathing grew rapid and heavy. His boiling rage coalesced into words, erupting forth. You worthless woman. Get out. Get out. A month later, Yi Guqing wrote a divorce decree for Lu Yu. Money, status, and position she gained none of it. Sent to toil in a remote, impoverished estate, the locals were warned she wouldn't make life easy for them. As for Jenner, naturally, Yi Guqing kept her. The only one who left was her. She came alone, and now she leaves alone. Nothing seemed to have changed. Yet everything had. Lu Yu ultimately paid a bitter price for her foolish actions. As for me, under Yi Guqing's attentive care, I gradually recovered. Now I could walk freely on the ground. He sensed my resolve to divorce him, panicking and scrambling to please me in every way. People only learn to cherish what they have after losing it. During the days Yi Guqing spent by my side, He constantly murmured about our beautiful past in my ear. He tried to revive that dead love. But to me, such actions were utterly meaningless. I told him repeatedly, there are no outsiders here. You don't need to put on a show of caring for me. True care comes from the heart. No matter how you treat me, I won't change my mind. Too late. Far too late. Yi Guqing's face darkened, his whole body a mess. After a moment, his lips moved. You're right not to forgive me for the sins I've committed. But please, don't leave me. I'll agree to anything else you want. Give me one more chance. I'll treat you with all my heart and trust you unconditionally. Just don't let us part. Okay. I shook my head. Don't say these things anymore. If you truly care for me, sign your name on the divorce papers. Yi Guqing did not agree. In the blink of an eye, my birthday arrived. Yi Guqing requested a purple jade hairpin from the empress within the palace, presenting it to me as a birthday gift. I sighed. Why bother with this? He eagerly showed it to me. This purple jade hairpin was gifted by the empress. It symbolizes the affection and devotion between husband and wife. Yener. Happy birthday. He reached to place it on my hair, but I stopped him. Yi Guqing looked bewildered. Yener. Don't you like it? I admit I was wrong before, so I'm trying my hardest to make amends. In the future, we'll have our own children, a home. I watched birds soaring freely in the distant sky, interrupting his vision of the future. I turned my head to face him. Yi Guqing, I told you before our future ended 3 years ago. Please, for my sake, let go of yourself and let go of me. With that, the jade hairpin slipped from Yi Guqing's fingertips, clattering to the ground and shattering into pieces. I turned away without another word, walking past him. It's over. Yi Guqing could no longer support his body, his head hitting the ground. He laughed and laughed, then cried. His sobs were laced with regret. I'm sorry. If only I'd known then what I know now. Yi Guqing agreed to sign the divorce papers. He asked me, what are your plans now? I gazed at the fallen leaves in the courtyard and exhaled. I'll find a new place to live and start anew. Yi Guqing's long lashes fluttered. He lowered his head. Silent. Once we shared everything. Now we had nothing to say. After a few seconds of silence, I had only one question for him. When will we divorce? Yi Guqing stared at me blankly, his voice bitter. Is divorce truly unavoidable? I tilted my head and replied, then I shall request to leave the marriage. With that, Yi Guqing returned to his study. I pushed the inkstone and brushed toward him. Right. He choked back a sob, trembling as he picked up the brush. Tears welled as his calligraphy fell upon the paper. Past memories dissolved into mist. Parting ways, each finding joy anew. Holding the divorce papers, a sour ache welled in my heart. Truthfully, I gave you countless chances. I murmured softly. For 3 years. I convinced myself that even if you'd visited me just once, I wouldn't hate you so deeply. But you, either someone held a knife to your throat, forbidding you to see me, or was it that you simply never wanted to see me? In the end, it was you who abandoned this relationship, not me. Your so-called kindness toward me was merely self-comfort. All these years, he had countless chances to win me back. Alas, he failed to cherish them, grasping at nothing. In other words, he truly never cared about me. With that, I turned and walked away without a backward glance. Behind me came Yi Guqing's heart-wrenching sobs. Half a year later, as I sailed south, a letter slipped out of my luggage. It was from Yi Guqing. Those 3 years, he hadn't stopped thinking about coming to see me, but he stubbornly believed that if I truly suffered, unable to endure the hardships at the frontier, I would write him, lowering my head to ask for help. Yet I never once reached out to him. He refused to stoop to my level, coupled with his soaring political career during those years. His thoughts of me grew increasingly rare. He even feared that bringing me back early might become a stain on his advancement. He naturally forgot me over time. I only glanced at it. The lengthy letter that followed. I didn't read. I had no interest. Nor did I wish to. I tore it to shreds and scattered the pieces to the wind. As if to declare that the past truly was over, I must look forward and move on. Among my belongings was another letter. Written by friends I'd made during my 3 years at the frontier. They described the picturesque landscapes of Jiangnan, where people lived in peace and content, meant a place perfectly suited for someone like me to settle down. They'd even scouted numerous opportunities for a woman like me to make her mark. I chuckled to myself. After the divorce, grandmother had given me a substantial sum, knowing I was heading south. She urged me to invest in several shops to secure my future. Grandmother truly cherished mishap. She gave was nearly all her dowry. I accepted it without hesitation, wanting to ease her worries. Another year passed, and my business in the south flourished. My ventures spanned embroidery workshops, ready tower boutiques, cosmetics shops, restaurants, and transportation services. I returned to the capital once more to bring grandmother to the south. She had nearly succumbed to illness during the previous winter at the Yi residence. I gathered the finest herbs and summoned the most renowned folk healers to save her. Jiangnan nurtured people. With Yi Guqing's consent, I brought grandmother to live with me, tending to her personally, truthfully. I hadn't studied Yi Guqing closely. I only vaguely sensed had grown thinner. I'd heard his heart wasn't in governing these past years. Without a matriarch to manage the household, and the exhausting task of disciplining his young son had left him physically and mentally drained. Had made a mistake and been transferred away from the capital. Coincidentally, his new posting was the very frontier town where Had once sent me. He said he trusted me with grandmother's care. I offered no reply, paying little heed to his hesitant words. Our exchange remained calm and distant. Many claimed he hadn't moved on, that he still hadn't forgotten me. But what did that matter to me? Later, my career flourished even more. Responding to the imperial court's call, I became an imperial merchant through the recommendation of a local official. Grandmother grew increasingly robust under my care. On New Year's Eve, she embraced me. My dearest granddaughter, I've selected several fine young gentlemen for you. They'll have them come to the estate in the coming days. I flipped through the portraits of those handsome young men and smiled. If grandmother chose them, I naturally like them all, but a man was not essential to me. Our current emperor was enlightened, encouraging women to enter government service and boldly forge their own careers. A woman could live well without relying on her husband's family. My second life promised a foreseeably brilliant future. The end.